Embrace HipMatch. Embrace its academic and professional reputation that has trained over 15,000 professionals in 10 years. Embrace HipMatch's numerous professional programs from HND to BTech, BSc, and MBA in the schools of Business and Management Sciences, Engineering and Technology, and the School of Transport and Logistics. Embrace HipMatch's professionalism, excellence, and consistency with solid mentorship from the University of Bamenda and the University of Boya. Embrace HipMatch's skills, development, expertise, and career orientation via workshops and academic field trips. Be part of the HipMatch family. Visit our Boya campus at Checkpoint Moliko and Douala campus at Carrefour Yoro, Jos, Bonamusale. Contact 683-70-1720. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, the University Institute for Professionals.
Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to another edition of Prime R on my Media Prime. This evening we are going to be looking at the contribution of the newly created institutions and commissions as far as the advancement of this nation is concerned. We know that in the last decade we've seen the creation of the Senate, we have the Constitutional Council, we have the Bilingualism Commission, we have the Reconstruction, we have now we're talking about regional councils and assemblies. So what has been the net influence of these created commissions and institutions as far as the growth, development of this nation is concerned? We also are going to be looking at our MPs. The southwest and northwest regions are boiling. Blood is being shed across all the divisions. People are being kidnapped. Many persons are worried, not knowing where to turn to. Members of parliament have not said a word, either encouraging or condemning what is happening. So many persons are asking the question as to who they are representing. Are they not aware of what is happening, or are they not so touched as to be able to say a word, either condemning or encouraging or what is happening? Why not form a caucus across political lines to be able to make a stand as far as what is happening in these two regions is concerned? Two regions are concerned. We are going to be discussing this with panelists who are seated already. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, consultant, with my Media Prime is in the house with us. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians, and a privilege again to be here. Thank you for giving us your ears and your time for us to educate you. God bless you all in Jesus' name.
We also are in the company of Dr. Nick Ngwa. He is a seasoned educationist. He is a social entrepreneur and a politician. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Leo, and good evening to our listeners. Very exciting topics tonight. We hope we'll be able to bring answers to those questions. But whatever the case, we'll be saying a lot of things, but in summary, like we've said before, there's going to be a dialogue, there's going to be reconciliation, there's going to be unity in the nation, and all the problems that we are going to raise will be solved. Thank you.
Okay, that is the crystal ball talking there.
Yeah. I looked in the crystal ball before coming.
We are also in the company of Dr. Micheal Ndimancho, a lecturer with some of our universities across the nation, also an active member of our civil society. Good evening and welcome.
Thanks so much, Leo. It's a pleasure to be here, and my special greetings to all those who are undergoing some injustices caused by one or another. Just ask them to be patient and to be hopeful, because those things will last very ephemerally, because we are coming to the tail end of our problems. I'm not a prophet. I just think that we have borne so much for so long a time, and we know that our God is watching, and time is coming very soon.
Okay. He's becoming a prophet. Dr. Nick is the seer who is looking into the crystal ball, and Apostle Ambe is a man of God who said yesterday that everybody was tired, and we are awaiting the arrival into the studio of Andrin Atem, Ebako, the Panafricanist who is caught in traffic, but shortly he's going to be joining us. I will start with you, Dr. Nick Ngwa. I want us to look at the institutions that have been created. when they were created, they got functional. Many Cameroonians were very, very enthusiastic, hoping that things were going to change. So I will start with the Senate. What practically has changed since the coming into effect of the Senate in Cameroon?
Well, to really get to understand what is going on in Cameroon, I would like to say that we should just leave the Senate as it is, okay? Let me make some general statements. You can kill me if you want, but what I'm saying is that, you know, I have said this before, that many Africans, including Cameroonians, don't understand problems. And the second thing is, many people don't know how to solve problems. The third thing is, we don't know how to create wealth. And the fourth thing is, we don't know how to live together. There's lack of emotional intelligence. Now, once you understand these things, then when I'm saying that we have got problems in Cameroon, and these problems cannot be solved by all those structures that have been put in place. You put the structures in place hoping that they will help you solve the problems, but unfortunately, the people who are put there don't have those things that I have mentioned, and therefore they exist as a body, and the problems keep growing out of proportion. Good example, we have an Anglophone problem going on for 5 years, and no one has ever opened their mouth to say anything in any place, be it in Parliament, Senate, or whatever. We could go detailedly to show how these structures are not helping, and it is based on my understanding of the failure of the structures that I have said several times that in the new Cameroon there might be no Senate, there might be no Commission for Bilingualism, there might be no ENAM, and there might be no social and economic council, because we just have so many structures with people wearing coats and ties and air-conditioned cars, chauffeur-driven, but very little is being produced.
Okay. Julio, good evening to you. Entril Ev, good evening to you. I've taken note of what you're saying. You say we should stop all this ranting. We'll continue ranting. Maximilian Mark, good evening to you. You say special greetings to Apostle Ambe, Valentine. Apostle Ambe, I want us to look at the Senate. What has been your appraisal since it actually started functioning? How has it affected the lives of Cameroonians?
We cannot talk about the Senate without defining actually the responsibility of the Senate. Okay. The Senate was created to oversee the exercise of the Parliament, as the upper house was supposed to control the activity of the lower house. In the first place, the lower house has no activity, so the Senate has no work. Yes, because you don't create an institution or a body that has no assignment. As far as we are concerned, if at all the lower house had any assignment that they were executing, then it would have caused the upper house to have some assignment to do. But unfortunately, the lower house has no assignment because the people who are in the lower house practically have nothing to say. They just go there, sit down, and then vote budget for ministers, and then discuss very irrelevant material that are not touching the pertinent issue, the very fabrics of what is eating the nation. They don't touch it, and then they get out. How do you explain that we are in Cameroon? Cameroonians are complaining of ID cards. The Senate does not discuss that. We have Anglophone crisis killing individuals every day and night, both the military and the civilians. It is not a subject matter in the Parliament. If at all these issues were discussed in the Parliament, I probably would have created a job for the Senate. Somebody said that a biochemist who produces biogas can only have a job to do if there's somebody to dump refuse at the refuse bin. If there is nobody to dump refuse at the refuse bin, then the biochemist has no job to produce biogas. So it's the same thing that the Parliament has nothing that is dumping at the refuse bin, so the Senate has nothing to process. Every year the Parliament has sittings upon sittings, and the issues that are eating the country is not a subject matter. Suddenly passports have been raised from 75,000 to 110,000. It's not a subject matter in the Parliament, so the Senate has no job. So as long as the parliament has no job to do, the Senate practically has no responsibility. What they go to do in the Senate is to collect very huge sums of money as salary and enjoy the goodies of the house and then come back, because there is nothing deliberated upon. Because I think the purpose of a parliament is to sit down and then discuss hard-burning issues that are disturbing the nation. But we have hard-burning issues in the country that are disturbing this country. We have electricity problem, we have water problem, we have energy, we have the Anglophone crisis, we have other things, passport, ID cards that Cameroonians cannot have. You are a Cameroonian, your ID card is produced by a Spanish, and you don't even have access to that ID card. And then you are even taxed sometimes 300 to 350,000 to pay for you call it an ID card with an emblem of your country. I am sure we don't know what are emblems of a country. It's our pride and our right to produce the coat of arms, to produce the seal, to produce the ID card, to produce our passport, and definitely our flag. That these things are managed sometimes by strangers, and that is the responsibility of the parliament to come up and deliberate on it. Then the Senate was to take upon this now and then filter what was not needed. But since the parliament practically discusses nothing, they beat around the bush. Every year ministers come to the parliament, they declare budget, and the budget execute nothing. The money that is being declared, we don't see the project executed. The parliament does not call the ministers to come back and defend the budget they use, but it brings them to defend budget they will collect. I am wondering if the parliament, which is a base that's supposed to give the Senate some responsibility, is not working, then I don't think the Senate has any job. That's the reason why for years, since the Senate came into existence, we practically see nothing they are doing. They just have their sittings, they go there and discuss, and you may even be surprised who is a senator and who is not a senator, because they are not active.
They are not active. Dr. Micheal and Ndimancho, is there something the Senate needs to do to make itself more influential in Cameroon's political landscape? Oh, they are so helpless. And what would account for what Apostle is saying, that we have a Senate that has actually not made its usefulness felt by Cameroonians?
You see, the reason why people come together to propose ideas is because we believe that each and every person has his own gifts that God has given him. And you know, and that is why we come together when there's issue of brainstorming. Many people need to come together to be able to give their own contribution. But when people come together and instead of brainstorming, they are made to believe that the solution to what they want is already there and that they don't need to think any longer. What do you expect from them? I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. I have a friend in the Senate. Actually, he's still there now. And he told me when he got in the Senate, a group of friends called him and told him, if you want to stay here long, just follow the party lines. Stop criticizing. Stop talking too much. Stop raising your eyes on things that do not concern you. Stop trying to play the enlightened in this house. Then you are going to stay long. Now, look at the house of that nature they call the Senate, where we thought people get there to be able to bring in their own contributions to bring Cameroon further, a step further in development, and maybe, like Apostle said, in trying to actually assess the work of the lower house, which is the parliament, and be able to propose things that are good for Cameroonians. But then you come there and people warn you and tell you, don't jack up your head, because if you jack, they will cut it. So now you see that there is no reason for that Senate to be able to bring any development to Cameroon. You know, we function with networks in Cameroon, and that in the Senate is really much more higher than any other one. So you feel that there are people there who have come there to serve the purpose of the master and not the purpose of the people. If you have come there to assist the master to stay long in power, then there is nothing you are going to contribute, because there is what we call the party lines. I don't know whatever that means. It is like you are not supposed to go out of the norms, out of their particular norms. Even if you have a better contribution or a better proposal to make, you are not supposed to get out of the norms of what the party actually expect from you. And that is where there is a problem. And that is why up to today, we will have people who will cry foul. And when recruitment is done, people write to Prime Minister or they write to a Minister of Higher Education saying that, okay, the people of this region are not well represented in recruitment, and so on and so forth.
I think that these are things that we're supposed to have been addressed by even the Senate, and they are supposed to raise eyebrows on issues like this. But we do not hear people talk. How many of those senators actually are back in their regions to be able to bring back the problems that they back from their regions and be able to present to government? Many of them are in towns, and nobody is saying anything about it. That is the reason why we heard the man of God in Bishop Micheal will cry foul and say most of these people are what he called famine, you know, because they are not serving the purpose for which they were elected. Even, I don't know, most of them were not elected, and they tell you they were not elected, they were appointed by the President of the Republic. So, but I think that they do not have a free mind to be able to express mind, and sometimes I don't blame them, because most of them are not even competent. They are just there because of the kind of game that they play to be there. They didn't merit to be there, and therefore they are there to reap actually the fruit of their laziness, the fruit of their foolishness, and that is why a philosopher will talk about idiot. An idiot in this sense, actually, in a real sense, is those who see things going wrong and they do not talk about it.
Okay, we at My Media Prime will not call them.
No, but that the sense of idiot, you know, the sense that you think. I mean, it's a philosophical sense to say that, and I've given the definition. I'm not calling people idiot. I'm saying that in philosophy, when you say somebody is an idiot, is somebody who sees something going wrong and he doesn't point out.
Okay, good evening to you, Silvanus Juma. Pa Denise, good evening to you. Cheng Ngale Tenti White, and to you, Entril Elve. Samuel Ababayo, good evening to you, Deaconess Ngi, my classmate out there in the United States. Eni Ureni, good evening to you, Tabot Rapper, and Deep Tambe, a boat who is always watching, good evening to you. And to you, Nganyo Ebai, Ni Abakwa, good evening to you. Gilberto Salu, always watching, good evening to all of you watching via social media. Andrin, Atem, Ebako, the Senate has been there. Do people, I'm talking about the layman, if you were to go to Mashimbopi, if you were to go to Village, or you were to go to Isangele, and some of these Mura today in Idabato, would the common man actually understand the essence of a senator?
Mr. Liu, in Cameroon, we have seen that there have been offices and positions which Cameroonians or the government itself does not merit it, because to start with, the Senate is supposed to represent a state, and we don't have states in Cameroon. So to even start, we were not even supposed to even have senators in the first place. But like I keep saying, when you want to expand an empire, when the people who believe that title is more and the value which is able to build our societies, so you realize that the government is just there to actually please some handful of people who actually love to gain titles and not actually be an experience or a change in their own society. So to start with, Mr. Bill, for me, I do not believe that Cameroon is qualified to even have senators. So those senators do not really represent what the plights and the demands of the societies are. They do not represent any people. And that is why you realize that in the parliament they have no voice and they have nothing to deliberate on, because we have so many problems in Cameroon that a lot of Cameroonians are looking up to people like the issues on table and see how some consensus or resolutions can be made, but that is not the case. So to me, I just look at it as if Cameroonians are at a certain level are drunk, and their government, as a matter of fact, is not such that it absolutely upholds the spirit and the aspiration of its nation. So these are some of the things that we really need to look critically when we begin to talk on issues as senators. We do not even, Mr. Liu, to say, we do not even have a government, so to say, in Cameroon.
You can't say we don't have a government.
I am saying
there is a government.
Mr.
There is a head of state, there is a prime minister, and there are ministers.
Permit me to say this. Permit me to say this, Mr. Liu. There is nobody as an organ that has a head, and the head does not function in compliance with the body and the demands of that body. You cannot have a government that does not reflect the people. You cannot have a government that does not seek the interest of its own people. You cannot have a government whereby its own people of that nation cannot find a future in their own. Cameroonians, like I keep saying, still live like foreigners in their own home because they do not see a future in their own country. How do you explain that? Yep. So these are very crucial thing whereby our government, Mr. Liu, permit me to say this, our government, for example, like the Cameroonian government, let's take a look at the government of France. France stands to own 316 companies in Cameroon. France is hustling in Cameroon as a government, not as individuals. Cameroonians travel abroad as individuals. We do not have our government going out to hustle. Our government are here to only create a safe passage. That is what we talk about neo-colonialism. How do you explain the fact with all this? So to even say, Mr. Liu, I would say that France is the largest exploiter in Cameroon.
We're talking about the Senate then.
We are talking about the Senate, but the Senate,
Mr. Liu, France that is telling the senators.
Mr. Liu, that is a system, and that's why I tell you that the Senate themselves do not have relevance. They do not have a voice. They have no foundation. They were not democratically elected by the people who were supposed, where they were supposed to go and reflect them. So let us be clear on this thing.
Let us be clear on this. Good evening to you, Jack Money. You say that you have always sent messages on WhatsApp and have responded to them. Please just understand with me, Jack Money. So many messages coming, and it's difficult to go. Elvis Fomukun, good evening to you, and to you, Kadiri. Good evening to you, big boy, Billy Bob Lifongo, the big producer out there in Nigeria watching to me. Gilbert, good evening to you. And Vale Ebai, agro-pastoral entrepreneurs. King Mbela, good evening to you. Ricewood, good evening to you. Mark Amos, Andy, good evening to you. And to you, Mark Makole, Wesley Angoni Tiku, good evening to you. Senator Walang Ako, who was a senator for Menchum. We are glad to know that you are watching the program. But we are looking at some of these institutions today, where Cameroonians are also looking forward to many good things to come out of the regional assemblies and regional councils. These are new institutions. Do you believe they are going to make a difference, judging by what they have been able to accomplish so far?
You are not pulling me into an argument that we had here a week or two ago, and I ran into hot water. I have said it before, and you are pulling me to say exactly the same thing. If you see a tree whose leaves are turning yellow and are dying, it means the problem is in the roots. Now, we had an Anglophone problem that had to be addressed by a true and inclusive dialogue at a round table and in love. Since we had a major national dialogue which did not address the Anglophone problem squarely, things like the regional, whatever is happening now with all those commissions, they are coming out as products of the major national dialogue. And I'm saying that because the foundation was not right, it's very unfortunate. They seem to be doing something, but that is not effective. And at the start of the program, I said that the Anglophone problem is going to be solved. There's going to be a new dialogue, which will be true, which will be inclusive, and that dialogue will be the beginning of peace in the nation. After that, there will be reconciliation and unity, and Cameroon will be born again. Thank you.
You are not talking about the regional councils. We saw Chief Atem Ebako, who came out to say that they were also getting frustrated because what they expected has not been given to them. Though he was corrected by the regional president, we have seen in the Northwest where a regional councillor of Ngwa came out to say that the president was a dictator and lots of things not doing well?
I don't know.
Already power tussle?
I, as a person, it's unfortunate that I trained in the sciences and I trained as a medical doctor and as a surgeon. If a patient has got an appendix that is inflamed, you don't beat around the bush. You go and operate on the appendix and take it out. That's the way our minds function. So I'm telling you that we have a problem. We have a problem. And the way my mind functions, if you want me to be debating things that are not useful, my mind doesn't click. You get what I'm saying? It's just the way my chemistry works. we are solution oriented. So
okay, since you are solution oriented, how do we get our regional assemblies and councils very functional?
They cannot be functional because they were not meant to be functional, and they are not designed to be functional because the foundation is wrong. Are you getting what I'm saying? If you want the regional councils to be functional, show me. We were just speaking a moment ago. We would take reference from the other structures that were there before them and see how functional and useful they have been. The same score that those other structures had is the same score that we will get. So let's go with the barometer or a thermometer and measure the effectiveness of the ruler or whatever, the effectiveness of the Senate, the effectiveness of the Bilingualism Commission, the effectiveness of name whatever, whatever. That same thing as you get as effectiveness is what you will get from the regional councils. I don't expect any miracles from them until the foundations are changed.
Desmond, I need an assistance here. Someone should come in. But Apostle Ambe, Valentine, and Ngwa, regional councils, what should be done? Do you think that they can work out the magic? And why would he say it cannot be functional?
We create institutions and commissions in this country because we need them, or we create those institutions because we are under pressure? That should be the million-man question. Because I'm very convinced most of these institutions and commissions were created because the government was under pressure. I think I do not need to be under pressure to buy something like bulb in my house. I don't need to be under pressure to buy something like food in my house. Those are necessities. The earlier we start creating commissions in this country to solve what we have as challenges, rather than creating them because we are under pressure, those are two different things. For instance, there was a parliament created. Nobody was under pressure because there was a need of a parliament, even though the parliament is not as functional as we expected. The Senate was created in 1996 after the Constitution was amended. After the amendment of the Constitution, they created the Senate because they were under pressure. Do we create these institutions or these commissions because we actually need them, or because people have complained? A government that waits until people complain before they create institutions actually did not know the value of those institutions or those commissions. Because if at all they knew, they will not be told what to do. Pressure should never force you to take drugs before you want to heal yourself. You definitely know you need drugs to heal yourself. You definitely know you need drugs to treat yourself. Nobody who is sick would definitely be forced to take drugs. So if at all we are bringing the regional council into place, the regional council came as a result of disgruntlement. Most Anglophones were disgruntled. And in the name of creating a special status, which is a very ineffective measure of solving the crisis, they had to create the regional councils. The regional councils have come into place. Practically, it was barely words that they spoke. Now it has taken some time. Finally, say they are established. Established, we are not hearing what they are saying. They are coming to repeat offices that were already existing. They are coming with a commissioner of education, a commissioner of health. When we have delegate of education, we have delegate of health. What are the responsibilities these two persons are going to be working in the same office? It's very, very strange. So we are not seeing the regional council as any, because in the first place, the amount of time that has taken to establish them actually show that they did not need the place, the responsibilities. How do you elect people into offices before you start looking for where they will settle? It tells you were not planned. You did not plan to start to establish them. You created offices, elected people, and then the president was looking for where to hang. The delegates are looking, the commissioner are looking for where to sit down. You create institutions and only elect people into the offices. Yet we elect people and then they are hanging in the air. We have not yet gotten a place for the regional president. We've not gotten a place for the commissioner of education. We've not gotten a place. Who is creating these offices where they don't even have an established institution to run their activities? The whole setup put together is a sham. So there is no magic. And the issue is that we are trying to live as if somebody says not how many years you live in life, it's how much life you put in the years you live. I think we should start putting life in the years we are living and not struggling to live for years.
Okay, good evening to you, Bayangi Pikin, Finn Calvin, good evening to you, Zam Nji, and to you, Berinui King, Nganyo Ebai, good evening to you, Brian Cyprian, and to all of you guys. Now, Dr. Ndimancho, Bilingualism Commission was created because of a problem. We have seen the reconstruction that is also there. We've seen lots and lots of commissions. Why are they not being able to even provide some solutions to existing problems?
It is simple, because, sorry to say this, we live in a very, very dictatorial system. Mm-hmm. How will you create a commission that you want it to work? And perhaps you do not give it a free hand to work. The Bilingualism Commission has a chair. And probably what I've realized that whenever they want to step on any stone or be able to bring anything new, to bring a solution, they quote the head of state. They are asking the head of state. They are working on the instructions of the head of state. How would things work this way? This evening, I just saw a note from the Minister of Transport indicating that the head of state has instructed the intercity train to start moving tomorrow. Do we need to have the head of state instruct that the train intercity should start tomorrow? These are the kind of things we are crying about. We let us not be asking the answers. Do we need the head of state to instruct? And this is where the problem is. The Bilingualism Commission cannot work because they are waiting for the head of state to tell them to go to Nkononi and instruct the teachers there to instruct English in their secondary school. They are waiting for the head of state. And at what age? If he has been doing that, maybe some years past, we know that at least he's a human being. At this age, he cannot do it again. Because he has become a monument in such a way that anything must be first of all the head of state. And we have tried to let the head of state remain young until we cannot. That is why you go to offices, the photo of the head of state is a photo of 20 years old. Because we think that it is always going to be the head of state to tell us what to do. We have to stop that. Let us take our responsibility. And that's why things cannot work. And that's why we keep changing from one thing to the other. We change from the provinces to the regions. What proofs do we have for that? And what has changed? The more things change, the more they remain the same. Who dresses, new dresses, who dance? That is where we are today. And that's why we keep on changing. We are playing to the gallery. We are playing to the international community to make believe that things are changing in Cameroon, whereas we are marking time. We are marking time. I think we need to be reasonable. And that is why we have, somebody said, if you are instituted or you are appointed in a post that you cannot handle, you should resign. But I told my friend, you cannot resign. Because in a kind of a system, you do not leave your boss. The boss leaves you. And people are afraid to leave the boss. They cannot resign because they are afraid of the unknown. So they are condemned to remain where they are, even in their initial, even in, doing nothing. They are there. And that is why scandals are committed all over the world, all over Cameroon, and people are waiting only for the instruction from the heads of state to take decision. How will you go to construct, a small toilet, in a community, in a council, and then you still want to put the head of state in it? What business has the head of state in all that? That is why we are not taking our responsibility. I really need to know, perhaps the job description
of some of these people who are appointed.
Yeah.
Because it appears their job description is only about the name of the head of state.
Okay, that is the job description that I was going to ask Andrin Atem Ebako. Where is the problem? Is it the fact that we have an all-powerful president of the republic, or we have persons who are given the responsibilities who lack either the competence or initiative to be able to get things moving? Because I'm sure the head of state creates some of these commissions, appoints persons to be able to help him accomplish certain tasks. But like he said, almost everybody is now referring back to the head of state with high instructions. What then has been the clear role of all these commissions?
We tell you, we will not deny the fact that we have a deity. And that deity was not erected by the Cameroonians. And that is why the Cameroonians see him as a deity, because it was put there by another hand, which seemed to be spiritual, that the Cameroonians cannot grasp. Cameroon today, Mr. Leo, seems as if we have two Cameroons. We have a Cameroon which is born again by France in 60s, and then we have another Cameroon which we have the civil service. That's why you realize that in a certain sector or a certain level in the government, at a certain age, people go on retirement. And then at a certain other level, people don't go on retirement. Whether you are 80, you are 90, you are still active in service. That other Cameroon is different from this other Cameroon which I'm telling you. And that is a Cameroon which is owned by France. Until Cameroonians understand that many of these things that we are saying, there's no Cameroonian who will say that he or she democratically elected the head of state. I will never for once give any speech whereby Africans or Cameroonians will go against their government, because here we must seek for unity, we must seek for solidarity in order to overcome what we are going through today in Cameroon. So many of these things that we are saying, Mr. Liu, we cannot expect, I still repeat, that change, whether in Cameroon or in any other African country, can never ever come from their governments. Because the governments which are there are not designed by the spirit of their nation and their people. These governments are designed by some foreign hand.
Yeah, but Andrin, we've seen change in Tanzania, we've
Mr.
seen
permit me
in
to
Ghana,
say, and that is why the president in Tanzania did not last for long, Mr. Leo. Presidents who believe that Africa can depend on itself and does not need to rely on Western influence or suggestion from the West are eliminated. And as a matter of fact, the same Magufuli you are referring to was classified at the level of the West as a dictator. Let us not contradict this thing. Coming to Rwanda, like I keep saying, you look at the development in Rwanda, is very limited.
But Andrin, please, we are talking for the understanding of our audience. We are talking about the institutions, why people are not performing. Are you saying that France told senators not to perform? Are you saying that the newly elected regional council assembly members have been asked by France not to perform? Are you saying that members of the Constitutional Council receive instructions from France? What are you saying?
That's a very good analysis you have made. I want to ask one question. In all of this due process, tell me how the government has put in participation the masses as to what is their opinion. The opinion of the Cameroonians or the masses or the majority are not being consulted. We cannot, Mr. Liu, I keep repeating, whether if you are head of state, when we talk of taking the people ahead, you need to understand what the aspiration of your people that you represent and what do they want. Yeah,
but when we are talking of senators, MPs, and the like, they came through direct and indirect elections now.
Mr. Leo, let us, we are not in space, we are in Cameroon, and we are Cameroonians. And we are in active service, and we know what we are talking about. I am telling you that majority of the decisions which our governments do take do not include the opinion of the majority. if we are talking of democracy. That is an abuse of democracy. So here we have people imposing on the Cameroonians, and the Cameroonians are left with no choice. Permit me again to establish this fact, Mr. Liu. When we talk about going in for elections and electing senators and people of leaders in areas of authorities, do you understand that democracy or election should be done under a serene atmosphere whereby the people are free to choose without being under any pressure or poverty to decide what they want? But in our case in Africa, especially in Cameroon, it's not the case. You cannot talk of an election or people going to vote when mass of its population live in abject poverty below $1 a day, and you have a civil conflict raging 2 regions and mass thousands of people have migrated. How do you build an election and expect a people to go and vote? To go and vote who? That is where we are saying all of these things, that to me democracy in the context of Cameroon should not have been practiced. Okay. We should have gone back to the one-party system which Ahijo instituted when he was alive, because the one-party system was the only system that could bring Cameroonians to one box, okay, and give them a sense of direction.
Okay, strange reasoning there. But yes, Dr. Nick Ngwa.
Yes.
Yeah, but we are talking about performance, competence, and a host of others. Is it not also because of the age range of most of those who are heading some of these institutions? We are talking about a country that has as average age. We have an average age range in Cameroon, but when you look across the board, take the Senate, take the National Assembly, take other instances. Don't you also think that some people are old and need to rest?
You're right, but if you look just at the age, you will get it wrong.
Okay.
There's something that is fundamentally wrong with the young and the old. All right. So something doesn't seem to be working, and we think that it's because some old people are sitting there, and you'll be surprising that you can take young people and put them there, and probably you'll get a worse result. Why is it so? There is the kind of air that we breathe in Cameroon. Something is wrong with it. Our brains are not working well. The air is not good. I'm using some. It's called in literature algorithm or something like that. I'm trying to.
Allegory.
Yes, but in reality, what I'm saying is we are not thinking well. The problem is, it boils down to very simple principles. If you want to solve a problem, you must understand it. And when you want to solve a problem, you must work on principles. If you approach problems based on emotions and feelings, and you also don't know the principles that are necessary for solving the problems, and you approach it and you use your emotions and try to do whatever you want, the principles are not going to change to favor you. No. And interestingly, principles don't respect titles. They don't respect people. Principles don't respect people. You're not going to see a stream will start going up because a presidential decree was written. No. In a stream flows down, water flows downstream. If you go and call the whole army to come and stand there, the stream is not going to flow upstream. It doesn't happen because it's a principle. So when you want to succeed, you must understand principles and work with the laws of nature. They will work to your advantage. But when you approach problems with emotions and then just blind support and just praise singing without having the capacity to put your finger on the problem, without being in a position to answer questions if you are put on a hot seat, you're not going to get very much. And that is the problem. And you remember, we've said it time and again, that the problems of Cameroon, the problems of Africa, are the wrong education. Our education is bad, like bad. And some people will kill me for it, I don't care. But our education is no use. And because our education is no use, we have a large crop of people who can think out of the box, who can think solutions, who have been crafted. They go to school and they go to the university and have this narrow-minded, this tunnel vision, and can't see anything to the left or to the right, can't understand what is happening even in their environment, let alone in the other African countries or in Europe, America, or whatever. They're so tunnel visioned. And all they can do, if you listen to them, I mean, you can always see them. When they want to, when something comes up, they will sing praises to the president, sing praises to the minister, sing praises to the Dio, sing praises to this. They're always singing praises for bread. But take them out of their seat and have them do something on their own to live, they will die. And so when you have this crop of people, when people are always looking for a way of how do I put my lip on the cow's milk and cow's nipple and just keep sucking the milk. They don't know how to feed the cow. All they want to do is put their lips on the nipple of the cow and suck the meat, the milk. That is the problem. We are failing at that level, which means that even if you were to change the government today, and you don't take time off to select people who understand problems and who know how to solve problems and who know where the shoe pinches, put 20-year-olds, nothing will change. 30-year-olds, nothing will change. It would be the same thing. And they will be working in their tradition as we used to. No, it's tradition. Comme on faisait. Avant, on faisait comme ça. On peut pas changer parce qu'on est habitué. No. It's not like that. You know, the pedal has to change. You have to change your dancing rhythm and so on. A lot has got to change. And if that doesn't change, the age will not matter. Of course, you can say that. You can argue that the older generation is analog, it's not Android driven, it's not technologically driven, and so on. And you'll be right to a certain extent. But you need people who have foresight, to be able to drive things forward. They could be young, they could be old, but what you should look for is foresightedness, ability to be creative and to solve problems, to have this empathy. And like we have said before, what we need in our countries today, benevolent, last time we said enlightened, benevolent despots. Democracy has failed. We need enlightened, benevolent despots, and when we have that in place and we take a party like the CPDM and make it progressive, then the other 350 parties will die.
Okay, they will die. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Great topic with the entire team of great people. I am enjoying the program. I'm learning more. Aiden Vioff from Halifax in Canada. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Anglophones should have their own independent institutions void of any control. I mean their own election system. Local government policies govern themselves, while the other 8 regions should put their own voids of Anglophone interest. I live in Canada and it works well here. Both sides can agree on equalization funds. My friends currently as a regional assembly put in place by the president has told me it would not work. That is just a shadow of itself. Ikomi is writing from Canada. Good evening to you, Ikomi. This one says special greetings to Dr. Nick. Your type are rare. You say it the way it is. May God continue to fill you with wisdom. Derek Wala is writing from Chang. This one says is from Micheal Ngu from Bamenda. Good evening to you all. Good evening to you, Fon. Good evening, Leo. We have lived with hope for so long. Like Atem Ebako said, it's difficult to think that institutions which do not reflect the will of the people can bring development. Mola Andrin, writing from Tico. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, what do we do? Do we fix the institutions that are not working? Do we change the personnel? How do we make things work for the good of Cameroon?
In mechanical engineering, when a car has overused oil, it loses its viscosity.
Okay.
We have overused brains in the government of Cameroon, and they're supposed to do what we call vidange in French. The engine cannot run when the oil of the vehicle has lost its viscosity. We have individuals who keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a better result. The Cameroonian government is like a cycle. Every year we do the same thing. There is no innovativeness. There is no creativity. There is nothing birth, nothing born anew. Everything is maintained at the status quo. And there's practically no new brains in the system to inject new energy. So I think if we want to put Cameroon government as a car, oil is finished in the engine or it has lost its viscosity. Secondly, the water in the system is dry, so the engine is knocked. What we have to do is to remove the entire engine and fit a new engine while we drain the old oil and put fresh oil in the engine for the system to start working again. That is exactly what this entire system needs now. How do you explain that? We have a president who heads a senate. We have the president who heads the National Assembly. Those are bodies in the country that influence the socio-economic political activities of every individual born and still to be born children. Yet the individuals and the personalities in question piloting these institutions are individuals who have practically gone out of information. How do you explain that we keep building institutions and putting retired individuals? In English language, when they say you are retired, it means you are no more functional. It means your organs, the intelligence that was needed in you to drive visions to reality is no longer in place. Tell me any of these institutions we are talking about which is not headed by retired individuals. The Senate headed by Nyat Ndifendi, he was a retired man they picked from Bangante and brought back. The man we have at the General Assembly is retired times 10. That's the person of Kawayege Jibri. The Constitutional Council, which we have, Mr. Clement Atangana, is a retired individual who was picked back from his home. Now, how does a system that is looking for the future being run by retired individuals? It means the entire system is retired. How do you explain that the bilingualism and multiculturalism, Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, is headed by a retired prime minister? What is wrong? The delegation of public security is headed by a retired officer. Cameroon nation has retired because all the individuals running the strategic responsibilities in the country that can push the country forward are retirees. So there is nothing that can work under a retired individual. So I think we have a serious problem, one, with the personnel. Number two, the impotence of the institutions. The institutions as a whole do not have the power delegated to them to execute their assignment. The Senate, that's supposed to be the voice of the voiceless, practically has no voice, because majority of the Senate is headed by the ruling party and the president called the shots. You go to the Constitutional Council, a man who was retired was appointed to head. That Constitutional Council was to come and make elections free and fair in the country. When a man sees such an employment as a breakthrough in his life, what do you think he will do? He would definitely favor and support the person that gave him hope when he thought his responsibility and his function in the civil service had expired. Then you talk about the Senate. A Senate president we have as responsibility. I'm talking of the Senate head. The energy is not even there anymore to work. So when we talk about the institutions are not working, because the people who are heading the institution, the personnel in those institutions, are people who have retired. So every retired institution, every institution headed by a retiree is retired. Number two, the audacity, the authority, the dominion, and the influence delegated to this institution, they do not have it. That is why we have to do an overhaul. Like I said, when the oil of a vehicle has condensed, it loses its viscosity. Let us do an overhaul of the entire system if this nation must gain its speed and cover the future it intends to achieve.
Okay. What should happen to, is it also time, Dr. Ndimancho, for the government to look, to make an objective evaluation of how functional and optimally some institutions are used in Cameroon, and rethink if those that are obsolete should be taken out instead of wasting taxpayers' money?
Exactly. I think that these institutions were created to solve problems. And if rather than solving problems, this institution plunge us to further problems, then there is a big problem we need to have a rethink. Shockingly, you know that as of today, every single Cameroonian owes the Bretton Woods Institute alone. Every single Cameroonian owes 150,000 francs. Every single Cameroonian owes the Bretton Woods Institute. Means that we have borrowed more than, our children will come and live in debt. So I thought these institutions are being created. For example, the National Commission for Multiculturalism and whatsoever was created to help us go over the hate speech. But each day, it appears as if we have been plunged into the issue of hate speech. It was created to help us to be able to manage our bilingual, our cultural nature. But unfortunately, things are not working well. Then what? If you are created to solve a problem and you cannot solve that problem, and rather we are getting deep into that problem, and not only getting deep into that problem, we are spending more than we were doing before, then we need to have a rethink. We see that of all the commissions that were created, we are rather getting into much more problems. The Senate, amount of money that is spent only on senators alone each year, each month, is enormous. 100 of them, for that matter. They take huge sums of money and nothing to prove for. You see that financially, the Senate should not exist. Look at the Parliament. Well, which of course we know is supposed to be there, but we have seen that it is just an image of itself. There is nothing the Parliament is actually showing proof of. Look at, in every sphere, Cameroon and everything that happened in Cameroon, you've seen that it is like a compensation. It is like a compensation to some individuals to come and sit and just be eating our taxpayers' money, and they are just there, not bringing any change and letting things even go, go worse than they were. So I think we really need to come back and sit and look at ourselves. I have an impression that Cameroon still think that they are still living in that kind of the Fondom era, the traditional society, where they thought that a gray hair is a sign of wisdom. And that is why you find that most of the leaders of the president are people with gray hair. So we are still reminiscent of that period whereby, all people were meant to be pelicans. All people were meant to those people who can sacrifice themselves for the community. Oh no. The world of today is not more that world, and I think that Cameroonians have proven that all people are not productive. We know that if the world is changing today as fast as it's changing, it is because of the aspiration of the youth. It is because of the demands of the youth. It is because of the zeal, that zest that the youth have in order to push the world forward. They are eager to have things happen. But if you come to Cameroon and see only people who walk in wheelchairs, people who only live on wine, people who only walk, who cannot even think any longer, then where do the youths have a place in this country? It means that actually we are condemned to die. And that is why we need to rise up. Okay. We have created institutions, they have failed us, they have plunged us in much more problem. Ministers actually go for more abroad for medical attention than it was even before in the 1960s. meaning that things are not working. Now we take much more people to come and work for us. Our routes, our bridges, our schools, they are being built and whatsoever by foreigners. It means that nothing is not working for us, and therefore we need to have a rethink.
We need to have a rethink. For institutions to function and develop, there is need for a complete overhaul of all institutions, educational systems, etc. Amola Waka Iwili, writing from Yaoundé, and Mr. Nzoge, writing from Kongsamba. Good evening to you all. I love your program that focuses on human interest. I sometimes wonder whether some of our leaders know their functions or are patriotic. The repeated assurance by Dr. Ngwa of a true and inclusive dialogue which will come soon has been too long awaited. It will not yield fruit if the people do not have an Anglophone General Conference to appoint their representatives to the set dialogue as was proposed by late Cardinal Tumi. Mr. Eyong is writing from Tico. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Is Leslie Niba from Bamenda. Most of our senators in Cameroon are people who were appointed because of a service they did rendered to the President of Cameroon in the past, so they are just there to eat their money. Good evening. Check the volume. We are not getting the program. Don't know where you're writing from here. Good evening to you in the studio. Please, Mr. Leo, can you permit your panelists to express the truth? Ginak Babel, Web New. Thank you. I'm sure they have been talking now. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Is Tume Bless, writing from Yaoundé. All the created institutions have contributed nothing. How can they bring any change when they are there to protect the interests of he who has appointed them? Sakwe Moses from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. KUM and panel. Very soon we will create a commission to reduce the commissions. Bernie King is writing from Bonaberry. Good evening. Great minds and real builders of our society. I honestly think that the creation of these institutions is only to feed fat those intellectuals who support the situation of the masses. Ben is writing from Douala. Hi, Mr. Leo. The creation of new institutions in Cameroon has not yielded any fruit, which means the government must do the right thing, and time is now. Ewuba Felix, writing from Yaoundé. Good evening. It's Nezi Timothy from Douala. Greetings, and I'm enjoying the program. Someone just wrote from Douala here that the government should do the right thing when it comes to these commissions and institutions. Atem, Ebako, Andrin, what is the right thing that the government is supposed to do?
Mr. Leo, the government does not have the quality, the capacity to bring the kind of change that befits the spirit of Cameroonians. We know what Cameroonians want, and we have come of age to know what we want, and we know the kind of government that we desire. How do you explain, Mr. Leo, that if a man elects a president, that president becomes accountable to those that elected him? A society without checks and balance, a society without accountability is a society that promotes witchcraft. Because when a government or an administration is not accountable to the people which supports them as the masses that makes up that nation, it becomes a huge challenge. I gave an analysis here on, in 60s, we did not have a president that was democratically elected by the Cameroonians. In 84, we did not have a president that was democratically elected by Cameroonians. That means that they were being appointed. My question here is, if really we were created in the image of God, were we also made in the likeness of France, Mr. Leo? Until Cameroonians come to this reality that if Cameroon is going to take a step forward, the masses that makes the majority, which I call them the true government of Cameroon, will need to come together, whether they are from the 8 regions or the other two regions of the country. They will need to seek solidarity in order to put pressure so that the Cameroonians can start deciding to become masters of their own destiny, and instead of them looking at who is going to be a best master for them. We need to change the way we look at things, Mr. Liu, because many people might say that it's about age. It's not really much about age. We have seen in other societies, like America is being headed by a 78-year-old man, probably 79 today. So it's not really the aspect of age, it's an aspect of a system. And that is why Cameroon still, which is very important for us to understand, Mr. Liu, why do we pay colonial tax? We pay colonial tax is because it is in the notion that we are tenants in a territory owned by France. That's why we pay colonial tax. So we have not fought enough to gain our honor and dignity that we call sovereignty, and that we take unity. It will take unity. What we have in Cameroon is special status, and that is why you realize that people can complain. Why is the government not doing this? I ask them, are you the one who put the government there? The answer is no. So until Cameroonians will come together and begin to seek the kind of leader who will lead them in the direction which they assume to be heading to. Because development here, like I keep saying, is not about skyscrapers, putting of institution buildings that does not reflect the demands of the society, whereby the Cameroonians themselves cannot even seek justice, cannot even get the kind of life which they deserve in those developments. We should be able to build development which is based on the quest and the needs of the people. Take a look at AU. The building of AU was a free gift to Chinese government of $200 million. That was the building of AU. That building does not reflect the demands of the Africans. It is a colonial structure that seeks the interest of the imperialists, and that is how many of our government stands today to represent, to reflect our nation. So, Mr. Le, we will need the need for Cameroonians if we are ever going to survive. We should stop all of this whether it's multiculturalism, bilingualism. It's not the problem of Cameroon. How many Chinese are here? 1-2 years they are back in their countries as billionaires. France comes here, goes back as billionaires. Macron comes here, goes back as billionaire. Russia goes back as billionaire. They come in here with their government, plant in multinational companies, go back as billionaire and save a future for their own children at the expense of the future of the African children. And here we live in poverty, confusion, conflicts, how will I put it, stress, hardship, and Cameroonians are now fighting Cameroonians. Permit me again to say this, Mr. Leo, as we're still talking about the Senate, what is the role of the Senate and all of that. Mr. Leo, this is just expanding an empire, creating more rooms for people to go and find a place to idle there and find no need or no responsibility to affect changes in their own society. The kind of change that a nation should get should be based on that nation's culture, tradition, embodiment of its identity. Is not about the building of skyscrapers, because development can be analyzed and can be seen in different aspects, not only by the building of beautiful buildings, no, whereby the people themselves can be able to find the need to develop in their own nation.
Okay, the maker watching from Boya says, good evening, Mr. Liu. In a country where the leaders are older than the country, those at the helm will never respect the institutions. Very soon, we will have to build to blind people controlling the youth. Okay, this one says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Newliam Emmanuel in Bamenda, I think these institutions have created more harm than good to our country. Sometimes I am tempted to think that God has abandoned us. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Institutions are created in Cameroon when the government needs somebody to head those that will favor them. Just look at the case of the Constitutional Council. Mandela writing from Mutengene. Pastor Derek writing from Limbe says, good evening, Mr. Leo and all the panelists. The program is so good and educative for a better tomorrow. Extend my greetings to everyone. Good evening to you. Man of God, we're glad to read from you. Good evening, Mr. Liu and other panelists in the studio. I personally think that the creation of Senate and some ministries in Cameroon is mere waste of material and human resources. I'm writing all the way from Mokolo in the far north region. I'm Kong Wilson Bankse. Good evening to you, my brother. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. Good work you are doing there. Mr. Liu, I wonder the kind of change we expect from people who are picked left and right when we are not educated, oriented, and do not master what they are appointed to do rather than wait for instructions. Okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. You are a wonderful journalist. The way you anchor your programs and the caliber of panelists you admit are the true patriots of this country. These particular people on board, I hail them dearly. They don't chew their words. May the Lord continue to strengthen them. Charles is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you, Charles. Mr. Liu, tell Apostle Ambe that I owe him just 1 cup of sweet palm wine. When he comes to Bamenda, he has said it all. Cameroon is ruled by retiree Stone Age. Okay. Onkunji is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really enjoy your program this evening. I really like the Apostle Ambe for what he's saying. Let God continue to bless him. I am Mr. Kingsley Ndiwa, watching from Libreville in Gabon. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I just wish to thank Apostle Ambe for that powerful talk. Until we drain the waste oil from the engine, until we clear off the retired regime, we shall continue to remain in the same positions. Sese is writing from Mundemba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The institutions and commissions for now can't contribute to the development of Cameroon because they are powerless. KUNEH is writing from Bamenda. Glad to read from Mundemba. We are with you guys in spirit. We pray that the divisional delegates who were taken from that part of Cameroon are released and given back to once more enjoy freedom and live with their families. We are praying for them also every day, every minute, every second. Dr. Nick Ngwa, are we not also feeling the impact of these institutions, because those who are charged with manning the institutions are also restricted by what is commonly called party discipline, where most of them belong to a particular party and we would want to know what either the party secretariat or the head of state thinks, justifying why almost everybody is acting with high instructions from the head of state.
Thank you very much. It's very, very unfortunate. Like I've said before, if you are looking for one very unhappy person in Cameroon, is President Paul Biya. You know, a lot of people would not understand, and they think that he's a very happy person because he has people running around, he has I don't know what. That doesn't constitute happiness. Happiness is when you have a group of people who are by you, helping you to develop your own nation or accompany whatever task, and then you can see that when you turn your back, they're doing the right things. More often than not, a lot of the people who say, you know, according to the president, this party discipline and so, they use it as a blanket and as a cover-up to when they fail in doing their tasks. And to truly find out whether they respect the president to that extent that they can only lift a finger when the president speaks. If they truly were what they say they are, and that they can't do anything because the president didn't lift his finger and give the right instructions, watch my lips, you will not have all those ministers who are in prison. You will not have issues of COVID gate. In 2013, on the 31st of December 2013, the president was virtually crying on television when addressing the nation, and he was talking about inertia. Inertia. That people don't want to do their jobs. They don't want to do the right thing for the sake of the people. And the president said that people cared more about their persons than the common good. That's what he said. And therefore, when you see people who are saying party discipline, there are two reasons. Number one, they might be incompetent and don't really know what to do. Or number two, they have something to hide and they fail to do their jobs. And they play around the president as a sign of love. No, to sing a choir or dance around the president, that's not what he wants. Maybe he could have loved that when he was young, but now he wants results. He wants the country to be at peace. He has so many problems on his plate that he has not solved, and he cannot continue like that. And when people want to steal the money, they don't ask the president whether they should steal the money. When they want to employ only their own or to do whatever and those favors, they don't ask the president. When they are doing something that is wrong, they never ask the president. They will go ahead and do it. But when it comes to doing the right thing for the sake of common good, something that they will not want to do for whatever reason, I don't know, they will say, oh, our hands are tied, we are bound by party discipline. It's not true. Party discipline is a good thing, but we should not abuse it. Even in America, in the Democratic Party, there's some level of party discipline. There's in the Republican Party, there's some level of party discipline. Party discipline does not mean that you should become a bootlicker, that you shouldn't use your brain to think. Even if your party said you should do something, and you have other ideas and you think it could be done differently, you raise your finger up and you say it, and you try to say, yes, it's true, the party discipline says it's like this, but I think if we did it like this, this will be the benefit. It's not just, so if we are going to just stick to party discipline strictly, then we don't need to have a crowd of 180 parliamentarians, a crowd of 100 senators. You just need one or two to echo whatever is said, and then it's done. So I think party discipline and whatever is an excuse that people use. And then this other phrase of following the high instructions is just one of those things that people use again to showcase themselves and show how much they're hanging on the lapels of the president, on the coat of the president, or something like that. It's not necessary. Do your job and give the results. And if there can be a difficult task, of course, you have to ask the president. Not even the minister, you ask the prime minister, and then the prime minister discusses with the president, and the president might say the whole government should look at it, and so on. But every minister, you want to fill a pothole, you say according to the high instruction of the minister, of the president. So that's why nothing is happening. The streets are dirty, no toilets, no nothing. You know, you are expecting the president to give you the authorization to clean the streets, to number the houses, to do the right things. We are chasing people off the streets, you know, like in Douala here. I saw a paper out saying that people must liberate the sidewalks and all those. If you don't, you're supposed to pay this. But as I drive around and I look around, yes, that's an instruction from I don't know who, but you are not providing the market.
From the city mayor.
Yes, give them, create space, create the markets for them, for heaven's sake. Create the markets for them, show them where to sit, then you can move them off the streets. You might have a job and you are being paid or whatever. Okay, you and your family, you are okay. But all those other people, 80% of our citizens, they have to live by some, I don't know what, you know, pushing on the street or something like that. And they have only that road. I'm not saying that being on the road is a good thing, but provide the proper place where they can exercise their functions. But you cannot try to punish them when you didn't provide it. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Like I've seen in town here, trucks are driving. You have not provided adequate places for trucks to park, but if truckman has a problem, he parks and you just put a clamp on it. People want to park cars, you just put a clamp on it when you did not provide the service.
Okay. Kudian Crossland, good evening to you. Chengale Tenti White, and to you Ntikum Victor Edril. Good evening to you, OJ Tabot, and to all of you watching on Facebook, we send special greetings to you. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. We are moving to our second topic for tonight. I'll start with you. Many issues are happening in Cameroon, especially in the southwest and northwest regions. Many persons have died on both sides. Ambe boys are being killed, military are falling. We have known of kidnap cases. We know that is Mr. KUM Henry in Bamenda who has been kidnapped. We don't know where he is today. We know that Indian divisional delegates have been kidnapped, and on a daily basis people are being kidnapped. Lots and lots of things are not working. We have the Bamenda Babaju Road that is in a very sorry state. We have the Kumba Ekondo Titi stretch that is also in a very bad shape. Lots of things. You raise the issue of electricity, very epileptic, water, and MPs seemingly are not concerned about all of this.
The question you be asking is, when has the MPs ever spoken that this one will cause them to speak? I said once here that CDC was going down and the elites and MPs of the Southwest kept quiet. And I said vehemently that they had to sit quiet, because if humans have been killed, maimed, butchered, court-martialed, and the MPs didn't say anything, is it when rubber, banana, and other plants, when they lose their value, would they speak? I'm yet to find out the thing that the MPs, as a pressing burning issue in this country, have ever risen for once to address, except the Anglophone crisis once that SDF MPs rose up to speak in the parliament. That was because their chairman at that particular moment in time was arrested. That means the proverb that says in pidgin, any man for himself, God for we all, is practically alive in Cameroon. How do you explain that we have MPs and these government delegates and other persons who have been kidnapped, killed, maimed, are dying before your very eyes? Unfortunately or fortunately, you are the representatives of those people in question. What is your function in the parliament? If we are talking today of individuals who have been kidnapped recently, government delegates and individuals in Bamenda and other places, and we are expecting the MPs to speak now, the question we should be asking is, when have they ever spoken in this country? The MPs have been very quiet because they did not go to the parliament to defend the people. They went to the parliament to enjoy the goodies that the offices offer. And I'm sure being a parliamentarian in Cameroon now is more of a business empowerment than a legislative responsibility. You go there for the gains, you don't go there for the representation. Because the primary objective of a parliamentarian is to stand as a voice to the voiceless and to communicate the woes and the challenges of his people from his constituency. But that is not the case in Cameroon. We have parliamentarians who have been muted. They are practically silent and they have nothing to say. What they do there is to enjoy the benefits offered to them, and the next elections are coming, they do everything possible again. Parliamentarians who became parliamentarians without carrying out campaigns, parliamentarians became parliamentarians without being voted, and suddenly from nowhere they appeared in the blues and became parliamentarians, and you expect them to speak what? He who plays the piper calls the tune or determines the tune. So we have to be very sensitive in addressing the issues of MPs in this country. The amount of blood that has been shed in the north and the southwest was enough to make any insane legislature to come back to their senses. But if they can still be lost in silence with all the amount of blood shed both from the military and the separatists, I am very sure that we have to redefine the primary objective and the responsibility of a parliamentarian in this country. Most of our parliamentarians are not even where the people are to see what they are going through, which is not the case in most countries. And I'm very disappointed, to the extent that sometimes I begin to wonder if at all we are supposed to still accept the fact that there is a parliament in the country. The things that are actually eating Cameroonians to the core, what is beating us hard, are never addressed by these parliamentarians. So why do we keep on beating around the bush and coming on TV stations and talking about parliamentarians whom we have never heard them speak even for once in most difficult challenges in this country? That is not how we run legislative matters in the country. I am sure most of those bodies are just kept there for formalities. For the entire world to know that there's a level of democracy in Cameroon. What we have here is purely monarchy. And it is decrees that rule us. It is not vote or legislative councils that govern the nation. We are ruled by decrees.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all the panelists. The contributions today are wonderful from our cream of panelists. But there is a saying that what an old man can see while sitting, a young man can't see it even when he is climbing a ladder. Maybe that's why all our appointed leaders only depend on high instructions from the head of state. Apostle Ambe should know retirement is not in the agenda when commissions are concerned, but his contributions will count in the days ahead. Sumbele Kelvin is writing from Kong Samba. Good evening to all in the studio, especially to my big brother, Dr. Ndimancho. I am from Ernest, contributing from Dubai. I think these institutions and commissions have only helped to frustrate Cameroon the more. The creation of such commissions with defined objectives that lack feasible strategies to achieve them is another way of draining public funds for nothing. Good evening, Mr. KUM. I am enjoying your program. I love it. It's Ivo writing from Kumba. Good evening to you. Ivo, hello, Leo. Greetings to you all in the studio, especially to my brother, Dr. Ndimancho, Micheal. As far as I am concerned, those institutions where we are talking about are just there to blindfold the international community. Cameroon is ruled by one man, Mr. Bia. Ngwa writing from Akale Street in Kumba. Good evening, great men of our society. First, I will say the problem comes from the foundation. We all agree that there is a certain age which people are supposed to be in public office. Victor is writing from Likumba. Good evening to you in the studio. Good evening to all listeners of Prime TV. It is sad to say that despite all the institutions and commissions created, have not affected the change in the development of Cameroon. First, the National Anti-Corruption Commission, KUNEH, the Bilingualism Commission, the Senate, the National Assembly, etc. All the personalities at the helm of the institutions have retired. Their inputs has little or no effect on the development of Cameroon. Fonge Felix writing from Douala. A great job you guys are doing there. Greetings to the entire crew and panel. These institutions need to be carried away by Isakam trucks if only the Isakam itself knows and plays its own role. Mr. Afani writing from Yaoundé. The only good position a youth can be given in this country is to be a military or teacher, and you go nowhere in these fields if your father or uncle is not retired and reappointed to the bigger office. Favor is writing from Bamenda. Now, is this not the time that the population, especially in troubled regions, need the MPs more than ever? If you cannot speak out for the people when they need you most, well, then it's your role.
Unfortunately, it is the time that the MPs love the most. The time they cannot be able to give an accountability of your bad dealings to the people is the time that they love. And this is the time that many of them are sitting in their comfortable homes and eating up the money, the 8 million francs per year and all the other allowances that they are having, and nobody is asking them any question, and they are happy. And they wish that the war should go on and on and on. Of course, they went into the National Assembly to be able to reap and to share of the national cake, as other people have been doing. So, if during peaceful moments, the MPs were being blamed for not doing their job, one more of this time around. You know, there are, during the last parliamentary election, the Speaker of the National Assembly was wrestled in his hometown of Kolofota, and the youth actually came out and said he is no more representing them. Unfortunately, and pitiably, we do not know how his name came forward again. Just to let you know that it is not, by their making, I mean, it's through the network that you become an MP. It's not because you can argue any project, or you can bring in a bill in the National Assembly, or you can argue a bill in the National Assembly that you're an MP. It is because of who you know and who can support you. You know, Cameroon functions with cliques. I just gave you an example of somebody in the upper house who told me when he came in, they said, if you want to stay long, close your mouth. And that is what is happening now. People want to stay long, let the people die. And let everybody die. It is not their business. Their business is to make the most of what they are gaining in the National Assembly. And that is where the problem is. You see, there's Dr. von Loon, after he talked about this issue of Inisia, and he wrote it and spoke about it very seriously, how people are given posts of responsibility and they just decide to take it as a right, and they think that they do not have anybody an account for what they are doing. And that is exactly what our MPs are doing. Now, some of them now say that, especially from North and South West region, they say they were not voted because no elections took place. That is a fact. And therefore, they have no account to give to anybody, and they say it openly. So, in this kind of a situation, do you expect an MP to stand up and maybe and say, my people are suffering? I mean, in the National Assembly, we see during this period, the 5 years period, that the Anglophones are going through untold suffering. The only time that we could hear the MPs after they talk about it, about this crisis, was when they wanted to write a counter letter to the US Congress to say that those people who are criticizing the government of Cameroon, they are not with them. These are the kinds of MPs that we have. Those who only have to write letters, long letters, to support the status quo. And you cannot support that kind of status quo if you are benefiting from that. And that is what we are condemning, that our MPs are not there to serve us. Our MPs are there to serve themselves and to serve their families. And that is what has been created in the whole of Cameroon. You know, who has ever taken who actually takes stocks of what the MPs are doing? Who audits them? I don't even think that the MPs are audited. Now, you see, people do things in Cameroon and get away with. And that is why in the 80 years, the president will ask, who sung the proof? Now, when the proofs now started coming, the president was baffled. And in his end of year speeches, he started hitting his hand on the table and saying he's going to get to the roots of it. Now, it is because with that lackadaisical manner, he had given the largest to the workers in Cameroon, his collaborators, to be able to embezzle and go away with. Now, it has gotten so deep in such a way that we cannot more be able to contain. And that is why the President of the Republic is suffering today. And the proofs, after that he's having, the only proof he has now is to put someone in prison, and before they start making findings. So our MPs are supposed to be called to mind, to let them know that they are still the representatives of the people, and that the people have the right to ask for accountability for every fund that they have given their project. Look at this 5 years back, they have been giving money for project back in their constituencies. Ask yourself, and they have never missed to have this money during these 5 years. Ask yourself what they have done in these constituencies. Nobody says it. And even the National Assembly itself, nobody talks about it. Everybody is quiet. They are friends in crime. All of them, they are friends in crime. Because, it's like somebody, in the beautiful ones of Yoruba will say, chop a chop, country spoil. And that is what is happening. People are much more into talking than doing. You see, a trash can is there, and they write, keep their city clean. And then just around the trash can, you see the mess there around the trash can. There is no cleanliness around. So that from that very moment, it shows you the filth that is in this country, the dirt that is in this country, the corruption that is better of this country. And that is exactly what these are the parameters who are supposed to condemn that and stand and stall and talk about it. I attended a conference in 2018, a conference on civic responsibility at a conference all in Yaoundé, organized by the Commonwealth, and it was about singing to Cameroonians how they can be responsible, singing to Cameroonian youth how they can be responsible. And the bigger question was, how can we be responsible if our own representatives do not give us the chance to be responsible? And it is a big question.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Fantastic program. Let the government look around and see that even a class 1 student will never support something that is wrong. Papa Oyoyo is writing from Douala. Good evening to you, Papa Oyoyo. I would love to meet you since you're in Douala. Find time so that we can meet. Greetings to the panelists, special greetings to Professor Apostle Ambe. Permit me call you sir. You speak with too much wisdom. Thanks for speaking the gospel truth. May this platform bring lasting solutions to the crisis. Kingsley is writing from Marwa. Greetings to my Media Prime TV. The president of the country is the manager of the nation, and all of us need to ask him what is happening with our nation. We should not be hitting around the bush, talking about commissions as if they are from the space. To foreign Ernest is writing from Limbe. Oops, that message is not related. Mr. Liu, dear Cameroonians, greetings. I salute your works and I appreciate what you are doing for Cameroon. Wishing you from Bomenda. What Cameroon needs is a change of system, and the persons to bring this change are the youths. Okay, parliamentarians of Northwest and Southwest are not present with their people. Let's remind ourselves that the responsibility of the parliament is not clear to me. Let's forget about them. The frustrations are high. MC Legend Kotem is my name. Good evening to you, Kotem. Greetings to you, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the program. More grace to you guys in the studio. It's Sese writing from Andean Division. Greetings, Mr. Journalist and the rest in the studio. I like the program for a better Cameroon. Those 80s and 90s civil servants of HR are supposed to go and rest. Okay, good evening to you. Now, Andrin at Ebako, the MPs, their role is actually not known to Cameroonians. A common Cameroonian would not know what to expect from an MP. And since it is said that an MP for Cameroon is an MP for the nation, one would have expected that though we are talking about violence in the Northwest and Southwest regions, MPs from Mayu, Danai, MPs from the East region, MPs from the Center-South regions, why not the presidents of the National Assembly at least should make a move to these volatile regions to have a feel of what is happening, or at least tell the world that they are concerned, they want to see what is happening themselves.
Mr. Liu, the MPs have traveled to another country, which many Cameroonians desire to travel to, which is the government. And they have seen their future, and they have seen their prayers being answered. Because we are in Cameroon as if we are living, one part of Cameroon is heaven, another part of Cameroon is hell. So when you have succeeded in crossing hell to heaven, you don't want to even look back on what the plights of the people are. And that is the simple truth of what we are seeing today in Cameroon. Mr. Liu, what explains the fact that our head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, will have a problem in his nation and decides to render an account to another president in another country? Why did he not give an account to the people whom he represents? He decides to give an account to another person who does not have any family or blood relation to the Cameroonian people. This is just to tell you that when two locusts are fighting, it makes the meat becomes very easy for the vulture. This issue happening today in Cameroon was inevitable, because when you keep a people in a particular condition for a very long period, whether you like it or not, you must expect rebellion. Why in the summit in France that took place of recent, where many heads of states in Africa went to, where Macron was talking of developing the private sectors in Africa, asked the question, do they want to become the raw material for us to use to develop? When you know that when a people have lived in this condition for this long period, they must rebel. Mr. Leo, we are talking of a nation which is vastly rich, and yet there are no employment. For you to get into the government is just like winning an American lottery, just to get into the government, where the masses and the private sector does not even breathe. The government is becoming the breadwinner. How do you explain those things, Mr. Leo? And I would agree with people like Thomas Sankara when they became president in a country of Upper Vora. They changed it to Burkina Faso. I want to believe that if probably one day we'll change the name from Cameroon to something else, I'm sure this issue of Anglophone, Francophones will die, and Cameroonians will start seeing themselves as people of one block, and people who need to come up as one voice, one people, one nation, and one future. If we don't know, if we don't begin to look at Cameroon in that direction, literally we will not survive in this country, because anyone who does not accept that the hands of the head of state is tied, then the person is blind.
Tied by who?
We saw here.
We are talking about MPs.
Mr. Leo, we are talking about MPs who are supposed to represent the plight of the people.
Yeah, but you are an individual here.
Yes.
You are talking. Why are your hands not tied? Why do you think that the hands of the MPs are tied? Tied by who?
Mr. Leo, you will not sound to me as if you are not in Cameroon. You are in Cameroon and will know how Cameroon functions. Nobody is ignorant about Cameroon. We should not really let us not say things to go out of the topic. All I'm saying here is what explains the fact that you are head of a family. You have a family where you have children in that family, you have a wife, and then people are complaining that you are not taking up your responsibility for that family which belongs to you. It tells you that there is a huge problem somewhere, because why do we still say that? We say high instruction from His Excellency Paul Biya, high instruction. Can you not know what is good for your own family? So do you need to please but another man at the expense of your own family member? That is what we are talking here today, Mr. Leo. So the MPs are not reflecting, Mr. Leo, their duty, which is very important. So let us face the fact on the root of the problem. The root of the problem, Mr. Leo, I keep saying this thing, until all Cameroonians will come to understand that the problem in Cameroon is simple. We have a nation, a foreign nation, that seem to decide the destiny of Cameroonians. For Cameroonians to overcome that, they will need to come together and push this agenda away and build a life for themselves.
Good evening in the studio crew. Firstly, I think we shouldn't defend the head of state for failing to do what he is supposed to do. The ministers are his, and he is bound to check and supervise what they do to curb their corruption and secret dealings. So he has failed and has not defended. Newsay is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Lewis from Tico. Please tell Apostle Ambe his analysis gives me wisdom. You guys are doing a great job. Please keep up. Lewis, good evening. Parliamentarians of Northwest and Southwest are not present with their people. Let's remind ourselves that the responsibility of the parliamentarian is not clear. When you have MPs who are praising us on top models, nothing is expected from them. Mula Waka Ewili. Mr. Leo, the government is just an operator and a bunch. May God deliver us from their hands. Roland is writing from Messager. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It is Fondo Alois calling, writing in Kumba. Mr. Leo, CPDM is doing favoritism in Cameroon, and that is not right. Mbachu Ernest, my friend, writing from Nyaso, so I suppose that you are there. Mr. Liu, I'm so glad with your program today. Ernest, good evening to you and everybody watching us from Nyaso. Good evening, Mr. KUM, nice program. Akwam Harry, watching from Pondo Balong. Good evening to you. Good evening to all of you in the studio. Mr. Liu, I love your programs. Prince Anago, writing from Gusi in Tombel. Mr. Liu, all government should go and give a try to the young government. If not, no way. Mr. Lu, I tell you, if Apostle Ambe is elected as the new president or even appointed, we will move from something to something. Good evening. Christian is writing from Tatum. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think that Cameroonians need to turn back to God, especially those at the lead. I am Justina writing from Bomenda. Good evening, Prime R. I'm Chris calling from Amphi. I'm really enjoying the program. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, isn't it also because there are no clear separation of powers for the different arms of the government, where seemingly the MPs, I don't know how to call it, whether they're naive or seemingly they're afraid of the executive.
Mr. Lu, why is it that?
Dr. Nick,
Okay.
from Dr. Nick, yes.
What's the question again?
No, I'm talking about
Separation of power.
separation of powers. The MPs are supposed to be an arm that should check the excesses of the executive, but seemingly if the executive, because we are talking about what is not working in the country, there's different ministries that are not fulfilling their missions. For example, the roads I cited, we have the issues with energy, we have issues with the markets, lots and lots of things. That is a part of that is the job of the executive. Why is the legislative arm not able to ask the executive arm why things are not working out?
It's just so unfortunate, like someone said, it's an issue of a system. And until that system is changed, nothing will really work. You see, if you look at the city like Yaoundé, it will never be beautiful. If you want a beautiful city in Yaoundé, that's why I keep saying that we have to build another city on the river Ebebda when we have the Confederal State of East Cameroon, because now you can plan it and do it well. Because you see, you have this village thing that keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. No streets, nothing is planned. In fact, Yaoundé is not planned; it's just a village that just keeps going, increasing and increasing, and nothing works. And so we are talking about something that we started, and it's not working. If you have started a business, and the business is growing, if you're not very careful, you will overwhelm yourself, especially you who started it. You keep thinking that everybody has to come and ask you the questions and report to you and so on. So there must be that delegation of power and effective delegation so that things really work. When your business starts growing and you can't let things happen without your knowledge, then it's not going to be as efficient as it ought to be. But the unfortunate thing is that you can only delegate to people who are willing to take power and use it in to do the right thing. I mean, just take a simple example of COVID money that comes in. And then the president says, okay, you guys manage it. And then the prime minister says, okay, you other guys manage it. But the money disappears into thin air. So that's the kind of thing we are talking about. Just a little opening and nothing works. So you get yourself into this kind of a thing. You don't know whom to blame. I don't know if the parliamentarians were even doing the small things and trying to leave the big things, one would understand. They don't do anything. I don't know what I can credit them for, so it's just so unfortunate. It's one of those things, and I'm saying again that, there comes a time when you have to redo the whole thing, and the war in West Cameroon is the trigger for us to do the right thing for the country to work.
Okay.
And you're going to have a dialogue, a reconciliation, and unity, and most of these kind of problems things will just be restructured, and the nation will just get on a good foot.
Okay.
Because you keep trying to put new wine into old wine skins. That is the problem.
Okay. Main mission of the Senate is to work in synergy with councils. So it's necessary for your panel to know that the Electoral College of Senators are councillors. It's a new creation, so let's know their role and function so as to better criticize their functioning. Remember, these people we are criticizing are elected into the Senate or National Assembly. Why not concentrate on the electorates or voters? God bless us. Senator Walang Ako.
Can I just answer that before we
writing
go?
there.
It's very important. Sorry, I'm stopping Mr. KUM. Look, dear Cameroonians, listen to me. whether they are senators, whether they are parliamentarians, we don't care how they were elected, but we care about their product. We are interested in whether you drop from heaven, show us your work. We're interested in work. We don't care about, okay, but we would love that you come in the right way, come through the door. That's fine. If you drop in through the window, you can come in through the window and at the end of the day, produce some results. We will clap for you. But the bottom line is we are saying people who say they came through the door, but we are not interested, okay, you came through the door. That was yesterday, that's history. But today, tomorrow, show us you came to the window. What did you do? Okay. That's what we're interested in.
Ngwa from Yaoundé says the parliament has maintained sealed lips. Unfortunately, when the U.S. House of Reps discussed the Anglophone crisis, about 60 MPs of the same parliament rose up against U.S., meaning the silence is deliberate. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Cameroon is suffering from what I call tragedy of exclusion. Good evening to you, Mr. Leo, and greetings to all the panelists. I'm enjoying the program. Locally, when a palm wine tapper have overtapped a palm tree and he sees that the palm tree is no longer producing wine, he switches to the next palm tree because he knows what he is looking for. How do you expect fresh ideas to come from? Okay, Lucky Lukumanu, writing from Melong. Good evening, Mr. Liu and your panelists. Thank you for your efforts in making Cameroon a better country through your program. I respect Apostle Ambe for saying what he is supposed to be said, and I want to say kudos to him, and may God continue to bless him with wisdom, for he always speaks the truth and not politics. Okay. Daisy, writing from Kumba, says, good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. More grace to the entire team. You are doing a good job. Good evening to you. Daisy out there in K-Town. Honore from Bamenda says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the program. Thank you, Honore. Okay. Lista Montana from Yaoundé says, good evening, Mr. Liu and the great panelists. I'm learning a lot from the program. Good evening to you. Lista, extend our greetings to your mom. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think we don't have MPs in this country. What we have are people who are interested in themselves and their families. All what they are doing is just to amass wealth for themselves and to send their children and families abroad. It's okay. Oops. Yeah, good evening to all of you watching us. God, I celebrate you people for the good job. God will increase you all. Thank you. And a big amen to it. Thank you, Mr. Liu, and the entire panel. Yes, how can we expect something good to come from the parliament, which is being headed by a person of decades? Basil is writing from Yaoundé. I want to read one message from Stephen Mwambo. He says, Mr. Liu, no commission can help to solve this crisis when the President of the Republic lacks the political will to solve the crisis. These commissions cannot give what they don't have. If Mr. Biya could forgive those who made an attempt over his life in April fourth coup, he can as well forgive those who have committed atrocities by separatists and their leaders. He can release all arrested as a result of this war, as well as Ayub Tabi and co, grant amnesty to all, call for a dialogue, and then create a commission of truth and reconciliation to help heal the wounds the war. If this happens, trust me, Cameroon will remain united. As for the MPs and even senators, they are not different from the rest in the country. They are being mostly CPDM, do not want to attract the wrath of the party and Mr. Biya on them. Besides, how would they complain when they have an opportunity to become multi-millionaires? Yes, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, and Ngwa. Should Cameroonians give up on their MPs, or those who elected them should press hard for better and greater results from them?
For those who are hungry and need food, shouldn't give up on the MPs. Therefore, those who want change in Cameroon should give up on the MPs. Because I think most people sing the hosanna of some of the MPs because of the bread and butter they give them. And you will hear them defend them when they have no visible or tangible results on the ground. A few of them are working. Like I said, I don't come on television to applaud or celebrate people who are not doing anything. I must say, Honorable Ngala Gerard, I have followed his activities keenly, He's been very serious since he came to Parliament, and for a young man of his status, coming to the Parliament just recently, and what he's doing so far, I think he should be applauded. We are not here to condemn everybody. I think we can single a few persons. Honorable Fritz Etoke also, who is no longer on a seat in the Parliament, also is doing a very great job. And those are responsibilities that they are carrying that should be applauded. But a greater portion of the MPs in our country, I can tell you with all sincerity, these parliamentarians I'm talking about, I don't know their houses. I've never asked a dime from them. I've never gone behind them to look for any favor. But I think as a patriotic Cameroonian, we should call a spade and appreciate those who are doing something good. We call upon the other MPs not to let the fire, the confidence, and the trust that Cameroonians have given to them to be dumped to the gutter. They should wake up to their responsibilities and be able to serve the people that give them the authority to be in power. I think it's time for us for MPs to listen to what we have been singing on television and wake up, because the insult on MPs in this country constantly on other different medias, I've watched on almost every media, nobody speaks all about the MPs. It looks like they practically have nothing to offer their country, which is so bad. And the US Congress wrote once about the Anglophone crisis. The MPs of our country were smart enough and fast enough to do a joint letter to respond to the American Congress. If they have such powers, they have such authority to respond to the American Congress, why don't they use such power to build their communities and confront the government in question? I think the insults that you have received so far as MPs in this country, this insult was supposed to have caused you guys to wake up from whatever slumber you entered into. So we will not give up on you so fast. We want to still give people another opportunity to rethink and have a second thought on why you were elected.
We are out of time. Another program is coming up after this. We want to say thank you to you, Doctor, for coming.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll keep telling Cameroonians to be patient. You know, the darkest part of the hour is at dawn. And when Christ was promised the Savior, it took some time for him to show up. So there will be going to be a dialogue, reconciliation, and unity in the nation. Thank
Apostle
you.
Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's always a privilege and a joy to be here.
Okay, Dr. Mike, thank you for coming.
Thanks so much, you, and I'll also task all of us citizens to copy what the Anglophones they call self-reliant development, because sometimes we always depend on the MPs to come and do it. Let us be proactive citizens and carry out our own responsibility.
Okay, Andrin, Atem, Ebako, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. I'd just like to say this last thing. With all the constitutions, the organizations put in place, and yet the destiny of Cameroon is decided by France.
Okay. We want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program. Table, Christian, thank you very much. And to you, Desmond, and everybody working at the broadcasting. Not forgetting you, Tabi Bryant, supervising the work we do out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Embrace HIPMAT. Embrace its academic and professional reputation that has trained over 15,000 professionals in 10 years. Embrace HIPMAT's numerous professional programs from HND to BTech, BSc, and MBA in the schools of Business and Management Sciences, Engineering and Technology, and the School of Transport and Logistics. Embrace HIPMAT's professionalism, excellence, and consistency with solid mentorship from the University of Bamenda and the University of Boya. Embrace HIPMAT's skills, development, expertise, and career orientation via workshops and academic field trips. Be part of the HIPMAT family. Visit our Boya campus at Checkpoint Moliko and Douala campus at Carrefour Yoro, Jos, Mona Musade. Contact 683-70-1720. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, the University Institute for Professionals.